Hi, this is Bob Weiss. I'm the host of Shakin' Your World. Cheers. Folks, welcome home. Yet another episode of Shakin' Your World. Here we are at the lovely Shakers on this gorgeous February day in Wisconsin. Beautiful sunshine. I love every part of that. We are honored to have Denise with us today, who is a motivational speaker, and she will be talking about the fine art of communication in the business environment. Denise, welcome home. Good to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. As always, when I'm in Shakers, it's wall-to-wall people because of just the experience, the food, the service, everything. So to know that you reserved this for me.
Just for us.
I know I've made it. I have made it in life.
So Denise, tell us a story.
Tell you a story. Tell you my story. I am what traditionally is labeled as a transplant. So I'm originally from Evansville, Indiana.
Okay.
For those that are not familiar with Evansville, it borders Kentucky, and that's why you'll hear me say y'all. I'm not going to look at the camera because I want us to have a really good conversation. I came to Milwaukee through employment in 2003, so about 17 years ago. Left in 2005, came back in 2010, and when I left in 2005, I was like, I will never come back to Milwaukee again. Let me tell you why I say that. Because when I moved in 2003, I moved right in the midst of Summerfest and the Harley-Davidson 100th. So I was like,
hectic.
This is better than what I ever anticipated. And then the summer was over, and then the winter came, and I was like, oh no. And as life would have it, in the spirit of good storytelling, what we often plan, that automatically forces things to go a different way. So I came back in 2010 through another employer, and I've been here since. And I love Milwaukee. Milwaukee has been so good to me, and I hope that I've been good to Milwaukee. I've tried to be, as any relationship.
Well, we all have that mission, don't we, to enhance things and make it better after we've left and the interaction that we have with people.
Yes.
So it's that interaction that you have with your clients that really helps them to be better at what they do in business.
Absolutely.
Okay. And are you working with any group in particular with that?
Oh, goodness. I'm fortunate to work with a number of groups all across the world. From a national standpoint, I've had the honor of partnering with Junior Achievement USA, Manpower Group, which their global headquarters is here in Milwaukee. Northwestern Mutual is a valued client of mine. I also have a strong focus on working with nonprofit organizations, especially those that have a mission that aligns with my mission of, just to your point, helping people, regardless of what success looks like for them, be successful. Because everybody on earth should be successful. Not based on what someone else has told them, but based on what they would do if money were no object. Sure. And so some of those nonprofits that I've worked with, United Way, let's see, oh man, there's so many. I work with via CDC, which is formerly the Layton Boulevard Neighbors Association. There's so many that I've been fortunate to partner with, and I think of it as a partnership. I think as a business owner, one of the most disregarded elements or components of, and you know this, it's all about from the time that your customers, even if it's their first time coming to Shakers, or if it's their 100th time, they always feel connected and valued by your team and your team's service and the food and the ambiance and the experience. So I apply the same principles with my business, and that is to make sure that every one of my clients who believe in me enough to pay me with their hard-earned money, that they not only are they feeling a great experience, but I'm exceeding every expectation they had.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
So how many people do you say that you interact with on the course of a week basis or a monthly basis?
Ooh, that's a great question. Today alone was probably about 20, and I love that. That to me is where I experience the most satisfaction, is when people, again, out of everyone's extremely busy schedules, have enough confidence or belief in me to just reach out and say, tell me more about you. That's why I'm so honored to be sitting here, because it was probably 2 years ago where I was coming here as a customer and not knowing who the fabulous and ladies, is he not handsome? Guys too, everybody,
Drink
animals.
Some more, drink some more.
Yes. So I love the fact that there's not a day that goes by where someone is not reaching out to me, and not in a vanity way, but more in a way of you need that affirmation, especially when you're starting off.
Well, I can tell that you are all about the energy, not just your own personal energy, but taking that energy and moving that forward into other people as well.
Yes.
So I think that that's one of the things that we are missing so much in our society is that people, especially during the pandemic time, are just kind of stonewalled on something, and maybe you can't see the future, you can't see what you want to do, you can't go anywhere, you've been hobbled down. But the reality is that, in my mind at least, that these dark times have provided so much opportunity for people. If you look beyond yourself a little bit, what you can do to make a difference, look up at that beautiful sky today.
Yes.
And look at how you can interact better with people to make it a better place. And I think that I'm thrilled that you talked about a partnership, because I think every time I enter into a contract, an agreement, or something with any other business venture or our strategic partnerships, it is exactly that. The better we do, the better they do, the better the entire concept is. And it's hard to get some people to buy into that sometimes. So they just want to, I just want to sell you this and move on. That doesn't do any good.
No.
That's limiting. That's so limiting. So, of the people that you work with, are you primarily in the C-suite or marketing departments? Who do you work with most?
I work with everyone.
Everybody, okay.
I have to. And that's a great question, because oftentimes when people are considering starting a business or going into entrepreneurship, the question is, well, what's your target market? Who are you trying to appeal to? Which is important. However, the less filters that I've developed have been, to me, what's attributed to my success as a business owner. And the mission is what, to me, is most important. Knowing what it is that your product or service is designed to provide. Because a lot of people say, hey, I want to open up a grocery store. Okay, that's great. And along with Myers and Roundy's and who else? I know Kroger's under Roundy's, but any other grocery store chain, what are you going to provide that's going to differentiate you from those other, I don't want to say competitors, because for me, and I know we'll probably get into this, my biggest competitor is, and always will be me. Period. Because there's enough work out there for everybody to win. The key is, how are you branding yourself? How are you providing something that's different? Like Shakers, there's not another Shakers in Milwaukee. I don't even know if there's another Shakers or something comparable in the state of Wisconsin. And that's because you knew exactly what you wanted your customers to experience. And that's the biggest challenge, I believe, that folks who have a vision, just be yourself, treat it as if money were no object, and then go from there, but have that mission.
Well, customer service is really the keystone of every business, and I think that's something else that's been lost over
Oh my gosh, yes.
And people have to get in contact with the fact with themselves, and the fact that what they want to do is expand by being good to other people.
Yes.
And to provide something that you don't ordinarily get. So we are very experiential here. We have so many different facets that we work with, I think rather adeptly. And that just enhances everything that we do and expands it into so many other people. I love the way that you take in the energy that you are, you see what you have, and the way you keep pushing yourself to do more for yourself by doing more for other people. That is an extraordinary thing that more people need to grasp.
Yes.
So, do you get any resistance from anybody, by the way?
Oh my goodness, daily.
Okay.
And see, this is why I love having this conversation, because I'm learning from you. So versus me interpreting that as rejection, I'm just going to use the word resistance. But to answer your question, yes. Now, one thing I have learned over the course of, and I'm still a freshman, this is year 4 of my business, is that the no's oftentimes mean not right now. It doesn't mean never, forever, ever, don't even think about it. Because I've had a significant number of what I wanted to be a client tell me no or resisted. And then a year later, sometimes even 6 months, they'll say, hey, can we revisit this? And then they book me or they retain my services. But absolutely, I receive resistance and rejection every day, but I don't internalize it and I don't allow it to consume me. Now with that, I'm always looking for feedback in terms of how I can improve. Someone like yourself, I would sit down literally for like an hour and just listen to you. Someone who's not doing am I allowed to curse?
Please.
Somebody who people who aren't doing dope shit, I don't take advice from. And there's a lot of people out here who are accepting advice from mediocre people. When I say mediocre, I don't mean in terms of like judging them as a human.
Right.
I'm talking about doing mediocre things as it relates to their contributions, their performance. I can't accept rejection or anything for that matter from mediocre people. Dope people like you, I'll sit down and be like, oh, wise one, dear Yoda, tell me, how can I be great?
Okay. Well, perseverance is certainly important. That's something else that seems to be a lost art today, is that people don't have the faith in their own projects or themselves. And by doing that, you're doomed to fail.
Yes.
Or to be mediocre. And unfortunately, there is I don't want to use the word systemic, but we have the systemic concept in the Milwaukee area. It's been here for 10 or 15 years of mediocrity. So we have dummied things down so much that
oh my
people
goodness.
don't feel a need to excel at what they do. We're doing okay. That's not enough, man.
Who wants to just do okay?
Doing okay today is just okay, but that has no future whatsoever. You may as well think about your exit strategy because you're going nowhere.
Right.
If you're mediocre. So, we get these same challenges on a regular basis where our customer might just be coming in for a beer. What kind of a beer? Light, heavy, dark, sweet, bitter, creamy, bland, effervescent. We can help you to maybe get you exposed to something you haven't had before. We can kind of show you the way that this might pair up with a cigar, maybe what food this is going to work with, or what wine is going to accentuate the flavor of that shrimp, or something else. That is really the turn on for me, is how we can convert people from going in a humdrum, we should drink light beer, and going, that beer I had last week, that was really good. I'd like one of those, and something to go with that.
I love it.
And that is the play for us. Same thing with our tours. We start off with the Ghost Tour. Well, now we have a 2.0 tour. We got the Cream City Cannibal Tour. We can enhance your thought process so much by showing you things about Milwaukee that you never thought were here before.
Wow, that's incredible. And that's the power of the experience that you and your team provide here at Shakers. Is for me, if you not only meet my expectations, but I leave completely different or even slightly different than when I entered your doors, that to me, that is what service is all about. Don't just give me what I expect. Give me a reason to come back, and give me a reason to tell everybody I know, look, you got to go to Shakers. And I mean, longevity, how long have you been here?
35 years.
35 years. Some of y'all weren't even thought of 35 years ago. So yeah, that's incredible. I cannot wait to say that, let me see, 30 years from now, I'll be 75. Oh, I don't know if I'll still be coaching at 75.
We have a extraordinary staff here at Shakers, and that makes a significant difference because they are completely dialed in with what we do. They embrace the concept. They want to spread the wealth of that concept to other people as well. And I think that it is just something that you can't otherwise teach people, and you can't otherwise factor into the Milwaukee marketplace. We have been so fortunate for such a long period of time, and I hope that this continues to go forward.
May I ask you a question?
Please.
So what do you look for? Like, give me 3 characteristics that qualifies someone to even interview to work here.
Enthusiasm is the first thing. You get that spark in their eyes, you get that little hint of pixie dust. You get somebody who's motivated not just to get a job, but to work here. Somebody who's been here, seen the magic taking place, and wants to be a part of that. That makes a big difference to us. I mean, we can teach a monkey how to tend bar. I can teach almost anybody how to cook, right? Now, obviously, we fine-tune that, and we get the nuance out of that, and we coax them along, we expose them to more things, and they're much better at the end of the day, no matter what position that they're in. Same thing with the tour guide. We want people that are storytellers, first of all, but they have to be able to find that common denominator, whether it's a group of 4 people or 12 people, whatever the case might be. And how can I take these people and give them this extraordinary tour this experience that you don't normally get, which is why I think our tours stand way above the rest.
Oh, yes. I took a tour. It was very informative.
Thank you.
I was like, that happened in this room?
There's so much here.
Oh, my
you
goodness.
think about the days of the cemetery, you think about the brothels, you think about the Capone with the speakeasy, you think about the only licensed cigar bar in the city of Milwaukee. There's so many different nuances here. And then you get to my food, which is, frankly, something different than the rest. And I think we lay it out, man. You get just a full serving of stuff here.
Oh, trust me. And here's the fun fact. As of today, I have never had food here. But our brother Corey Smith, who is one of Milwaukee's foodie kings, if you don't already, follow Corey Smith on Instagram. But I'm eating tonight because between what he talks about in post and what I've heard from other people, whatever y'all cooking, I'm here.
Well, thank you. I will hopefully delight you with that tonight. So, getting back to the corporate world kind of thing.
Sure.
Your normal process, obviously, you begin with an introductory meeting, feel what they want, right?
Right.
Which, by the way, is also a lost art because we had a marketing meeting just a week ago where we laid everything out. I did an overview here ahead of time. This is what I'm looking for, the points I'd like to cover, and this is the timeline I'd like to have with this. And they came back with an estimate that for something completely different. I'm like, were you at the same meeting with me?
Oh my goodness,
so
no.
That's not that unique, by the way. It's my feeling that a lot of people want to come in and sell their goods, but they don't care what you want. They just, this is what we do. Thank you, but it's just not what we're looking for.
Oh no, that is one of the cardinal, it's like you have to understand what matters to your customer or client. Now, the significant piece of that is staying ready. So if you look at all the companies that experienced triple-digit profit during COVID, I mean, you can say what you want. So like, I'll pick on Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, the drive-through, prior to COVID, cars in the drive-through and in the restaurant. Post-COVID, obviously due to regulations, there couldn't be as many people, if at all any, in the restaurant, but the drive-through line was even further. And I thought, what is it about Chick-fil-A? And it's all about understanding what matters. They were ahead of the game in terms of accommodating their customers' needs. And I benchmark off of companies like that even in the worst case scenario are still not only sustaining business, but growing and thriving. To me, if you thrived, and when I say this, okay, let me just back up, because I don't want anyone to interpret me saying this as, well, if you didn't have a great year, then you're not an adequate business owner. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is this: tragedy, whether it's unprecedented, or forecasted, it's inevitable. I don't know I hope not, that there will never be another COVID-19 that impacts this world the way it did, but we have to stay ready. And especially as business owners, how do we make sure that we're positioned so that whatever happens, that doesn't negatively impact? And if you look at Shakers, I mean, y'all are still here doing just as well, because that's what people associate with rain, sleet, or snow. I know when I go to Shakers, I'm going to have a great experience.
Not to brag, we had a record.
Brag on!
July, August, September, and October was way off the charts compared to previous years. January's up compared to last year as well. So,
isn't that awesome?
We are vigilant.
Isn't that awesome?
We carry this torch forward, and I think that there's a whole movement in Milwaukee that there's a bunch of restaurateurs, a large number, that have elected not to open up until there's a cure for this. There will never be a cure for this. It's a virus. Okay? There's ways to manage this, perhaps. Right? The vaccine is certainly very important. Mask mandates very important. But to take all of your staff and to mothball them makes no sense to me whatsoever. Not to mention the fact even the joint next door is now closed indefinitely. So if you're shut down for 30 days, yeah, you can recapture that. You shut down for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, it's not going to happen. You've lost all your momentum. So either you, in my mind at least, redirect yourself, rebrand yourself, but you can't resurrect that product the same way that it was with those same people. They've moved on. They're gone.
Right. And what you just said is exactly my sentiments as well. It was never about losing control. It was about reinventing my how. So how do I now provide the same type of energy, overall experience that people receive from me in person, on stage, whatever, in my office, now that we're on lockdown? So I had to reinvent my how. But the first thing I did, I was like, okay, so people, to your point, I'm like, I'm not shutting down, and I definitely don't want people to not see me doing what I do. And because I remember a couple people had reached out, they were like, are you okay? Because I know, they just knew that my business was, and I was like, no, I'm doing great, I'm doing amazing. And a lot of that had to do with the realization of, if I shut down for 4 or 5 months, it's not even going to be a matter of the effective communication coach. I'm going to have to totally redesign, rebrand, repurpose. And I was like, I'm not doing that. My mission is never going to change. Let me just reinvent my how. And it worked. I did a free 60-minute, free meaning that I did a live Zoom, and I offered a free class or workshop on a Saturday. And when I promoted it on social media, within the first 3 hours, registration was at capacity. And that, to me, I was like, okay, I'm going to be okay. But if I had not had the mindset of, no, I'm not quitting. I can't control the regulations, the governance of this country. And let me be clear, I am pro-mask. I know people are like, Denise doesn't have a mask on. We're good. But I am definitely pro-mask. Anywhere that I'm out, I wear a mask. And it's not about whether or not the other person has COVID. It could be I have it and I don't want to contribute to the spread. With all that being said, I was not going to mask the effective communication coach. And I had to make sure that even if it were virtual, I'm still positioning my business so that people can still experience the coaching and the motivational speaking and the keynote speaking and whatever else that entailed. But I wasn't going to shut down. That wasn't an option.
I'm glad you talked about that, because we as a society, as a people, have lost so much by trying to communicate with this on our face all the time. There is so much that we respond to.
Right.
These nonverbal cues that you can't pick up with that.
I know.
And so anytime we have people applying as well, please take off your mask.
Yes.
And it's not just I want to see your smile, but I want to see your facial contortions. I want to see what's really going on there.
Oh, yeah.
When we're asking you, because we've got a rather extensive interview process that goes on here, and we have a heck of a questionnaire that goes with that. And we ask some very poignant questions and some really quirky questions as well. But I want that interaction to take place. I want to see how people are responding.
Oh, nonverbal communication is the most
absolutely
powerful and impactful communication. It's funny because I try to smile with my eyes. So with the mask on, I'll be like, it doesn't have the same. No. So I will be glad when everyone is vaccinated, including myself, and we can go back to hugging. I miss hugging.
Yep.
Man, I'm a hugger. I miss hugging so bad. People, they stick their elbow out or their fist, and I'm just like,
what's the purpose of that, honestly? God.
I mean, I get it, but to your point, I don't want to do that. I want to, for me, I'm a very hands-on person. I love face-to-face. As a matter of fact, it's my preferred communication mechanism. I'm not an emailer. I will email, but if we really want to have an in-depth, not even in-depth, but just want to connect, meet me all day.
No question about that. So, of all the places that you'd go to in the city of Milwaukee, what is your favorite place to go for food?
Wait a minute. Are you tricking me?
Nope. Straight up.
Shakers.
Well, you haven't eaten here yet.
Shakers. Shakers.
All right.
Dude, I'm about to be banned from here. Now, what's my second favorite from Shakers? It's a franchise.
Okay.
It's a franchise.
It's not Chick-fil-A, is it?
That's one of them. The second one is the Cheesecake Factory.
Cheesecake Factory.
Love me some. Shout out to the miso salmon entree. But let me stay local. Aside from Shakers, Love the Bartolotta restaurant group.
Yep.
Love, what's Omar's restaurant group name?
Surge is what it used to be.
Surge, yes,
Okay.
thank you. Because I love Carnivore, and I love Mason Street Grill. Those are like my, I really should be answering this question because, I know a lot of people in Milwaukee. They'll be like, you didn't give me a shout out. But yeah, those are my primary favorites. I'm a foodie. And I recently committed myself to losing some weight. So I've lost 30 pounds so far, but it's hard. Thank you. So I'm trying to lose about 20 more. I'm really transparent. I don't care. I don't get caught up. But being a foodie and living in Milwaukee where the best restaurants in the world are, it's hard. It's hard.
Marilyn, you've not been to the northern Spain, have you? San Sebastian, Santander, Bilbao.
Lisbon is not
Barcelona.
northern Spain.
Nope.
Okay, because I went there in December. What area of Spain is that?
Oh, that's in Portugal, but it's right next door.
Okay, so that's where I
It's
was.
still not quite the same. Great seafood in Lisbon.
Oh, trust me, I was at the Gran Canary Islands, to be more specific. Lisbon and then the Gran Canary Islands, but it was incredible.
Very nice.
Loved every dish that I ate. So after our podcast, I'm gonna show you some pictures of the food that.
Please do.
Yes.
So you're eating both Spanish cuisine in the Canaries and a little bit of Moroccan as well, I'm going to guess, right?
You know what? We wanted to go. I went with a good friend of mine, and we wanted to visit Morocco. Someone had told us that you could actually take a. This is how detached I am from society now, because I can't even think of the word. Oh, ferry. That you could take a ferry from Lisbon to Morocco, and we couldn't find any. And this is before COVID, but there were no ferries available. But I would have loved, and I will go back to that area and visit Morocco, because I've heard great things about. Have you visited, right?
I have not been to Morocco. Let me know when you're going.
Yes, I will.
Maybe we can meet there.
I would love that.
Excellent. So aside from the groups that you mentioned here in Milwaukee, what other things in the States do you like?
In the state?
In the States.
Any states. Okay, so of course our neighbor Chicago, great restaurants. That's a good question. Let me think. Where do I love to go? Oh, Vegas. Love the restaurants in Vegas. I love Wolfgang Puck's restaurant. Well, he has several in Vegas, but the one inside of, oh my goodness, which hotel is that? Starts with the B, Bellagio. Okay. Yes, great restaurant. Let me think. You know what? The best eating I've had has been like in Europe. I love Paris, and I went for the Bucks game. Actually, that was like when I came back. That's the day that Kobe Bryant and his daughter were tragically killed in the helicopter crash. And I bring that up because that was the last time I actually, traveled international. But Parisian cuisine, oh, you can't go wrong in Paris.
No. I think the simplest little bistros and brasseries are the best food, by the way. I think many of the really big name places are just ponderous and it's a little overblown personally, but phenomenal food throughout. Yeah.
Now, so when you and I finish, I'm gonna show you this restaurant that I went to in Paris. It was maybe a third of this area. And you could see, I'm gonna show you, you could see the people preparing like your steak, like literally like you would have thought you were in front of a slaughterhouse because they had like the meat hanging and they would prepare in this small stuff. Oh, the experience.
When you're next in Paris, there's a joint called the Parc du Montceris. And it's this beautiful park. Hemingway wrote about this park, and the swans are there. It's very idyllic, and they have this extraordinary restaurant right at the southern tip of that, and it is phenomenal. I recommend you go there. Unpretentious. Well, it's Paris, but it's.
Now wait a minute. I thought you and I were going together
to Morocco.
We can't add Paris to Morocco.
Maybe we'll talk.
My passport. I have global entry. I have TSA pre-check. I have clear. I'm ready. I'm just saying.
Well, just get Corey's credit card and you can go anywhere.
Now that sounds like a plan.
I like that.
Yes. What is the saying? Ask for forgiveness versus asking for permission.
I can ask for forgiveness.
He may not forgive us, but we'll still do it.
Cool. So you're drinking a Cabernet right now, just the house Cabernet we got at the moment.
Yes.
What do you normally like to drink?
So I'm supposed to be dry right now because of all the alcohol that I consumed
Well, it's not January anymore. It's February.
I know, but I'm just trying to minimize. But so I drink now very, very moderately, extremely moderately. So this will probably be the last glass until Sunday of wine that I have. But I love Sauvignon Blanc. I love all the wines that are bad for you.
That's too bad because the shrimp I'm going to make for you would go great with the Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh, no, we could do it.
Could bend that a little
We
bit.
could we could do it tonight.
Okay.
The rules are off the table today. I'm in Shakers. What? No boundaries today.
Perfect. Spent time in New Orleans?
I love NOLA. I was in New Orleans, or was it Nolans? 2019. I mean, 2020, you could just, like, nobody was anywhere that year. Yeah, so I was in New Orleans 2019 for the Essence Festival. Have you heard of Essence, the magazine?
I have.
You should go to Essence Festival.
Of course I should.
You would love it. And it's like 50 million beautiful black women everywhere.
That's a lot in one place.
Well, I'm just letting you
There's
know.
so much being around now.
Well, honey, it is heaven on earth. And they have, so the last festival that I went to, Michelle Obama was one of the speakers. But yeah, I love New Orleans. Great food in NOLA.
There is that. Have you been to Pesh?
No, well, I probably have, but I just don't remember the name.
It's in the CBD, the Central Business District. It's on Magazine Street. It's
Okay.
the place for seafood. Phenomenal. Brennan's, of course, does a great job. They always have. But Jacquemo's. Have you been to Jacquemo's?
That sounds so familiar. Oh, wait a minute. Yes. Do they have live music inside?
They may. Not the times I've been there, but they may.
Well, then that's not the place
It's
then.
not a honky-tonk kind of a place. They could have that.
Oh, no,
But
no.
exquisite.
With all due respect, I don't honky tonk. Not today, not ever. If I walk into a place and I hear you, I'm not sticking around for the high. I'm out.
I have found that the music in New Orleans, no matter what you're into, really just transcends anyway, and it's hard
Yes.
not to get enveloped in it.
And that's like the home of Louis Armstrong. All the jazz greats come out of NOLA. So music, food, culture, people, I'm here for all of it. I love NOLA.
Perfect.
Love NOLA.
Perfect. Key West?
Florida for me is like Miami, Tampa, a little bit of Jacksonville. But I haven't been to Key West area.
All of the places, but Key West is an entity unto itself. The fact that they have their way, they're not part of the U.S., they're certainly not part of Florida. It's not the old graybeards that are down there. It is just, it's got a vibe, man. It is alive. It is the most essential part of anything
Really?
in the Caribbean, in my mind.
I think I'm prejudiced towards Key West just because for so many years it was like spring break central. And I just, didn't want to
Well, there's
disrupt
something
the spring
going on,
breakers.
but Denise, you got your own vibe, man. You're a firecracker. I would think you would do incredibly well.
Well, thank you. I'm getting old. I'll be 45 this year. So I'm a little bit more selective on where I party, but I love.
Catching up to me.
I mean, once you get to the 40 club, then you're kind of like, you're a little snooty. You're a little selective. I love being in my 40s. Love it. Like, I remember a mentor of mine, she literally verbatim said, you were going to love the 40s, because I was terrified. Well, I was scared of turning 30, but I was terrified of turning 40, only because I associated 40 as being old. But when I tell you, these have been the best.
Women only getting interesting at 40 years old anyway. So.
Really?
Gosh.
Oh, I love that you said that.
Little kids in their 20s still. 30s is transitional for them.
Them little youngins. No, I love being in my 40s, and I'm actually anticipating 50. I love it. I've had the best experiences in my 40s. So for all those out there that are knocking on 40's door, you're winning.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing. Absolutely.
I've made more money in my 40s than I think ever in life combined. I'm very commerce driven, by the way. So.
That's clearly why you're here.
Right?
Cool. So if you had your druthers right now, if you could get on a plane and forget about COVID, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would that be?
Budapest.
Why?
Because I have wanted to visit Hungary for so long in Budapest, and the architecture. So I'm very big on aesthetics. Very big on aesthetics. And by the way, I love watching documentaries about all the fascinating places to visit in the world. And Budapest, by far, from an aesthetic standpoint, one of the things I love, and I'm kind of just going here and there, but one of the things I love about Europe is when you visit Europe, when you're looking at architecture, it could be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 years old. And you can't get that in the U.S. What are we about to celebrate our, 240th birthday or something like that, 250th? Yeah, when you visit other places in the world, they're like, 250, you're a youngin'. So I love and how Europe, the restoration of the architecture, it still keeps that original design or concept that the designers had, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So I love Europe. I love the history, and I love traveling to places where the architecture just makes you go. So Budapest and Hungary would be where I would get on a plane right now. Wow, is there a plane ready waiting on us? Are we going tonight?
Maybe you got a jet fuel up right now.
Yes!
I really enjoy Europe as well, but if you get the chance to get to Cuba, I recommend you do that.
Oh, okay.
It's a time warp, but you get the architecture is anything from Spanish colonialism that took place there. You've got a certain Arabic influence that's there as well. You've got some things like the slums of Jamaica, as if you're in Kingston. And this could be like half a block to half a block to half a block. And then you've got this overwhelming portion that looks a lot like New Orleans. And it's fascinating. And the people are genuine, they're nice, they're happy. The government sucks and it's very oppressive there. But they have found a way to persevere.
Why are people happy there?
Well, they've got their own mechanism and they got music, man. They got music. And the music's in every one of them. It's just a phenomenal thing to see this vibe that takes place and moves ahead. And, even though their lot in life is not going to improve in the near future unless they have a revolution, it's just not going to go anywhere good. So they have found a way to wake up every day, put a smile on their face, and just make it happen.
I love that. Don't you wish that was like Americans would be more like Cubans? I think that actually that 2020 was a big wake-up call for Americans to just reflect on the things that we took for granted or the things that we just didn't really pay attention to and add a new perspective on the quality of life.
I could not agree more. No matter what your station in life is, there are so many opportunities that are here. There's so many bountiful things that we have in this country. Again, no matter what level you're on, that people otherwise just don't experience. And, that's one of the biggest problems I have is that people are so pained every day about how things aren't like they were, things aren't like this. Maybe, but you still have the ability to make it the best day that you can, and your interactions the best they can be, and that's really what the connectivity is all about.
Yes,
it's not how much money you got or where you're going or something else.
But one thing I do miss, I'm going to be that person that says, remember when I miss videos on MTV and BET and VH1. I miss good soul music that talked about meeting a woman and you see her and you fall in love and you're courting her. Like, I miss those lyrics.
Denise, the problem though is I see in our culture is that men in many ways are obsolete. Stone cold here. Let me back this up because there was such a press, and rightfully so, for women to be equals with us. Yes, God bless. Yes, we're all equals together.
Right.
But then it became, we just want a little more. We're going to make up for the 200 years or something, whatever, the 1,000 years of oppression that we felt. So we really have to show these men we don't need them. We got dogs, we got girlfriends, we don't need a date.
We got toys.
Marriage, we got toys. Marriage, forget that nonsense. So I think that in many ways that connection is really damaged, and I think almost irreparably.
I love men. I can't see that. For me, I can't see this world not coexisting without the power of both men and women. And shout out to the LGBTQIA community, humans in general. We can't. And that's what I love about. I'm going to say this. One of the things that I loved about 2020 is that it amplified the necessary awakeness, if that's a word, or just interest in
Adjustment, perhaps?
being better humans based on whether it's race, gender, sexual orientation, age. And I think everybody last year had a wake-up call to like reflect on who am I as a human being, whether it's my role as a spouse, partner, parent, relative, friend, business owner. How can I, what do I need to do to be even better than I was? And there was just so much noise prior to 2020. Like, I know me, I travel 85 to 90% of the time. And I was just constantly, and I wasn't listening, I wasn't paying attention. I was just doing me and my business and having a good time. And 2020 was like, now you need to reflect, Denise. And to be completely transparent, I got a life coach. I got a therapist. Because here's the thing, I'm a huge Kanye West fan, and I cannot stand when people say, oh, Kanye West is crazy. We all have mental health issues. Some of a lesser, some of a higher degree, but we all have mental health issues. That's a fact in terms of, as far as I'm concerned. So for me, it was about taking 2020 and really just investing in me so I could come out of this COVID or this corona even better than I was in 2019. And again, that was all about appreciating differences.
I was frankly disappointed that Kanye was down on the ballot, because I think I'm serious about that.
I love it.
Him months ago.
Did you really? We should get him to come here.
Fresh perspective, fresh everything is what we need. Not these old guys battling each other. And frankly, I don't think it matters if you're a Republican or Democrat. The last political cycle has shown to us that we are so divided, and we need to find a way to reach across an aisle, grab someone's hand, shake that hand, embrace that person, and make it a better world, as opposed to Democrat, Republican, can't talk.
Right.
Right?
No, I'm completely agree. And there's a lot of people out there that are challenging our government. And if you think about our U.S. Constitution, what year was the U.S. Constitution written?
1787.
And then who was it written by? All white men?
Well,
And so it's like, okay, so now is the time where we take a step back and reflect on making sure that everyone, just as I do when I come into Shakers, everyone feels connected and valued.
yep.
Regardless of walk of life, regardless of gender, regardless of, race, ethnicity, identity, everybody feels connected. I mean, okay, so people can't see, they can't see outside of me and you, but just take a look, look at just proximity. This is diverse. And so that in itself is an indication that Shakers is part of the movement. Not the movement, but the movement.
Staying power is because we have been from day one very diverse, and we make a point to be that way, both in our staff and our clients, how we embrace just the world at large.
Yes.
But here's a mind work for you, because you mentioned LGBTQ, IA, but I think it's really going to be AI that's going to make the difference. Artificial intelligence is knocking at our door. And that goes along with my concept about men being obsolete. In many ways, I think that the human race is obsolete too. Because robots can now make themselves. Artificial intelligence can propagate itself, make itself. We're going to move forward. We're going to be throughout the solar system and beyond perhaps, but it's not going to be us as these corporeal shells that are doing the driving on that bus corporeal. It's going to be artificial intelligence.
So do you think the human race is approaching extinction?
We are at the zenith point. We are at that point. We're hanging out at the abyss right now.
Okay, so then we definitely got to go to Budapest tonight.
Soon,
If
not tonight.
I was going to say, if my time on this earth is
Before the end of the month, you got to go.
we have to, because if a robot is going to be sitting here in the near future, I want to make sure I go to
It might
Budapest.
be a more stimulating conversation for you if it was.
You think so?
Perhaps.
A robot?
Perhaps.
What was that movie with Will Smith where robots were starting to take over? Enemy of the State. Remember that movie? Did you ever see that? You should watch that movie.
I live in a cave.
I don't think you live in a cave.
Well, going back to the 1940s, late 40s, early 50s, up until the 1960s, all these futurists were writing science fiction, and they're all talking about what is going to take place. And I think we're on the cusp of that. So we're going through this resurgence of a dystopian era where people don't like what's going on. They don't like themselves. They got big brothers everywhere telling us what to do at all points.
That's true.
Our silly phones are hardwired in ways we can't imagine. Any of these guys that are code jockeys or working in any type of programming, they're already somewhere else. They're above and beyond the human interaction phase.
Wow.
So I do think that in the very near future, just like self-driving cars, the world is going to go autonomous. It doesn't need us.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So once the robots are in the majority, is it just, who's manufacturing them? How are they, like, procreation?
Themselves. They can run their own
By
factories.
what means?
They can run their own factories.
Okay, this is a whole nother podcast. We're going to have to talk about this.
You still need somebody to get the raw materials to them. You still need somebody.
That's what I'm saying, like supply chain.
The
Yeah.
bauxite or something else. But they'll find a way to make that happen.
Have you been in meetings already with AI people? Are you on like the
Not that
board?
they admit to it. How do you know? They're that good.
Wow, this is interesting. I better get everything on my bucket list
Absolutely.
checked off.
Of course, they're still not going to cook shrimp like I do, but
And I can't wait for that.
you can't wait for that.
I cannot wait for that. So do you prepare your dishes just on demand, like custom?
Why, yes.
So I can watch you
It's
cook?
a very zen thing. Perhaps one day I'll bring you back in the kitchen. We'll play back there one time.
That would be awesome.
That would be fun.
I would love that.
Cool.
I'm so excited. This is so
Yes,
awesome.
thank you. Anything you want to talk about here? I mean, this is your oyster. What do you want to
So one of the things I do want to talk about, because going back to your original point around customer service, so I've been frustrated because, I hold my business in terms of customer service to a high regard. I have my weaknesses, like I'm not great at administrative duties, but I know it's a vital part of my business's growth and success.
Sure.
But let's go back to customer service. You brought up a great point. Why is customer service shrinking? And an emphasis on the word service. And I know there's different ways that companies measure customer service, performance, etc. But from your lens, what changed? Why is it that gas stations make you pull up to the pump? They don't have anybody to come out and pump. I remember growing up in Evansville, full service gas stations. You pull up, ding ding. Guy comes out, washes the windows, fills up your gas tank. What is going on with customer service?
Like my dear father used to say to me time and again, follow the money. So efficiencies of scale. So rather than having an extra 3 people out there that are going to be pumping the gas for you and cleaning your windshield and checking your tires, now you've just got a clerk on the inside taking your money, right? So it takes some personal responsibility upon you, but that goes along with this general malaise that I think we've developed in our country, that people just don't want to exert the effort. And that means in jobs as well. So if you can't get staff that also doesn't want to go out there to pump that team, well, you got to find a way to get that done. That means Denise is going to pump it herself, right? So, because Denise has got to drive. She's got to go somewhere.
Right.
So at the end of the day, if that guy's not going to come out and pump it for you, there you are in your heels pumping that gas, right?
And I don't like that. And I don't like how, even when, okay, I'm not going to say the name, and Corey already knows because this just happened. I'm not going to say the name of the organization, but you'll probably be able to guess. A company that has had a huge successful 2020. They make, I'm trying to be as generic as possible. They make workout equipment, exercise equipment, and their supply chain is terrible. And, I get the demand, but there was no communication when the product that I ordered, the delivery date was not met. It was just ghost town silence. And, one of the things, because Corey had said, be patient. I was like, patience has nothing to do with this. This to me is about communication, customer service. You didn't let me know, and you didn't have a date of when I would receive my product.
Well, it's not just you. It's not just the product that you're ordering. It's that there is this problem taking place with logistics for everything. Mm-hmm. And by the way, as a side note on that, and I'll get back to the core concept here. If you think about how well Chick-fil-A processes people, or FedEx or Amazon or UPS, if they're the ones responsible for vaccinating people, we'd have half the country done by this point.
Right.
So many hospitals, clinics, whatever, have got a surplus of the vaccine, but they haven't determined yet how to effectively get it into people. Right? Or they're playing some other game with it, or they have favorite, whatever they're doing.
Right.
Rather than this is something that affects everybody, so everybody needs to get vaccinated. So you should get those people that are the champs at what they do with that delivery method, and have them responsible for it.
Well, they need to call Amazon tomorrow, yesterday.
A month ago, whatever it might be.
Because what I anticipate happening is that because they're so in demand right now and they're so popular and their supply chain is terrible, that's going to have a negative impact on their longevity. Because what I do notice about customers, because we have so many different options. I'll give you an example. When I was growing up, I loved Pop-Tarts. You had strawberry, you had cinnamon, brown sugar cinnamon, and you had blueberry. That was it. That was your three choices.
Love that blueberry. Yeah.
I go to the grocery store now, they have like 20 different options for Pop-Tart flavors. And it just was a reminder that there's so many different options now that if you as a consumer or a customer don't like this product on Tuesday, you got 20 options to pick from on Wednesday. And I think that's had a major impact on how customer service has been delivered, because it's kind of like, well, we've got options, and I don't really have to stay here. And I'm just like, no, I want to get back to where people, are really focusing on, like you, longevity, sustainability, 35 years in business.
I get it's the same thing. These problems always begin at the top, right? So whatever corporate structure you have, if there's something amiss in the process, customer service, for example, means that there's something on the top that they're not getting or they don't care about because they're making X number of profits, and that qualifies them to keep doing what they're doing because
that's it.
Right, sure. So that is their mandate with the shareholders. We're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. We're not the same company anymore, but that's okay. We're making more money right now. We're a leaner operation. So we are so profit-driven that we have forgotten the fine points of what got us there as a business.
That's it.
To begin with. But what that also does, it opens opportunity for you to preach what you're preaching, to get people engaged and going back to what they need to do, back to the roots of what this is all about, right?
Yes.
So there's pros and cons to everything, right?
Because my mother, she banks at the same bank that she banked with 40 years ago. She banks with the same bank. She will not change, and that has everything to do with the fact that when she either goes physically into a branch or she calls customer service through their, customer service line, she is treated like a valued customer. And that other organization, who I'm not going to name, that's the reason why I was like, you know what? Let's just stop this right now. Refund my money.
Yep.
And as far as I'm concerned, I'm never going to even entertain ordering from y'all again.
Yeah. Well, thinking about autonomous vehicles, because look at firms like Uber, right? So one day you're going to call Uber and you're going to have a car that's going to pull up with nobody inside of it that's going to drive you to your destination. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because one thing I love about Uber is that when that happens, and it's happened before, I can literally get on my phone in 2 seconds, go to the help functionality on my smartphone and say, this happened, please resolve. And either they're going to refund me for the total price of the ride, they're going to give me a credit on a future ride, but it's instantaneous response. And that to me is what keeps me patronizing Uber.
I agree with that, but what I'm saying is that soon enough there are not going to be drivers. You can have these cars that drive themselves.
We're back at the artificial intelligence.
This is real, and it's knocking on our door.
Maybe I'm old-fashioned. I don't know if I'm quite ready to get into an automobile, especially one like a carpool service that's driven by itself or a robot. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
When I get in my Tesla, when I leave here tonight, it can drive me home by itself.
Really? Have you utilized that function?
It's autonomous. It can do that.
So wait a minute, you've utilized the self-drive.
Control freak, so I use it incrementally.
How does it feel like when you do that, when you let the car drive itself?
I'm not a fan.
Exactly.
but it works.
It's generational too.
It is.
Yeah, because the majority of my life tend to steer the wheel, put the gas in the car. So I'm sure my kids who are 23 and 26 will be game for the artificial intelligence or for the self-driven car, but that's just not for me. Man, I'm getting old. That's like my parents.
What's the option? Not a good one, right? So you find a way to embrace the future and integrate yourself into that.
Right.
And still bring forth those measures, customer service,
Yes.
communication, and make it a better world while we transition to something beyond that.
That's so true. I mean, now, if I'm in a black car, I might let a robot drive me. But as far as me in a car, letting it drive me, no, I probably wouldn't do that. We'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe when we go to Europe next time.
I don't think Morocco's going to have that yet.
Maybe we should go to Asia, because you know Hong Kong, Singapore, Hong Kong.
I love Hong Kong.
They'll have it. They probably have it now.
It is just moving.
2085. I went to Hong Kong in 2017, and it was so hilarious because they had Teslas for Ubers, and this was 2017. And I was like, oh, no, we didn't order black. And they were like, oh, no, this is Uber X. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, China as a whole is far more advanced in every aspect than the United States. And I'm here for it. Shout out to Hong Kong. Shout out to China.
Well, the Chinese are taking over Hong Kong right now, so much of what you enjoyed a couple years ago is leaving.
What?
Well, you know, the Brits had to give that up anyway years ago, and there was a provision in place that they were going to maintain things the status quo. The Chinese decided they don't want that. Just like in Beijing, Tiananmen Square. So there's revolts taking place now. That's
oh my goodness.
Macau is drifting away. There's a thing in Taiwan right now that the Chinese are very, very effectively trying to reclaim Taiwan for themselves. So
oh my goodness.
The multimillionaires, the billionaires that are leaving in droves.
You're like a walking Wikipedia. So like, how do you get all this knowledge?
I don't sleep.
You don't?
I read.
What's the average what's the average hours that you sleep a night?
Maybe 2 hours a night.
Stop it.
I wish it wasn't that way, but it is.
What time are you going to go to bed tonight?
4 o'clock maybe, and up at 6 or so. Yeah.
Time out. You go to bed at 4 a.m. on average and wake up at 6? That's a
And I
nap.
still have these dynamic good looks. It's amazing.
That's why I said time out. 2 hours out of the 24 hours a day you sleep?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And you have all this energy and good looks?
Espresso.
Espresso?
Espresso. Yeah, great espresso.
Well, there you have it. Oh no, I got to get my 7 in. Like I'm literally like, I'll calculate, okay, if I go to bed at so-and-so, so I'll look at what time my first meeting is, and then I'll subtract an hour just, for prep time, and I'll say, okay, I need to be in bed by, I'm no good with it. People who say, and you may probably agree with this as well, you can sleep when you're dead. I'm like, fuck that. I need to sleep now. I need rest. That's why God created the 7th day, the Sabbath day of rest. Do you sleep on Sunday? Probably not.
Just another day to me.
So 24 hours, and you own, so let's do the math. That's not even like 1%.
It is what it is.
Okay. Hey, you're winning. Cheers to 2 hours of sleep.
Cheers.
I love it. That's genetics. Did your father or mother sleep a lot? That's got to be genetics.
My father didn't.
Was he a 2 hour too?
Not quite that bad, but he doesn't sleep a lot.
Okay, I was going to say that has to be genetics.
Yeah. This has been fun.
Yes.
Next time we do this in the kitchen, and we'll pick up and see where we're going. We'll talk about maybe some other restaurants at that point as well. And
absolutely.
How the experience was good or maybe not as good.
And we'll do our recap of our trip to Europe.
We shall. Denise,
on Corey. Thank you so much.
You.
Likewise, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
For those of you at home who've taken the time out, the 3 or 4 of you that watch this thing, I appreciate your time. Any questions, please blast an email to us at shakersmilwaukee@gmail.com. And forward to seeing you all next week. Cheers to you.